Many English learners want to read books in English, but most books feel too long, too difficult, or too exhausting. Today, you'll learn 5 short, real books that you can actually finish. Welcome back to the Learn English podcast, the podcast teaching English in context so you can learn naturally. Reading in English is one of the best ways to improve your vocabulary, your grammar, and your confidence. But for many learners, reading also feels stressful. Books look long and the language feels heavy. And many people start a book but never finish it. Today's episode is here to change that. I'm going to share 5 real books that are all under 250 pages. These are books that you can actually finish, even if you are at the intermediate level of English. So if you are ready to hear about these 5 books, then follow along because we're about to begin. Let's start by talking about confidence, because confidence is what helps people stay with reading in English instead of giving up. Confidence does not come from reading hard books or choosing something that sounds impressive. It comes from actually finishing books. When learners try to start with books that are too long or too difficult, they often stop reading completely. Not because they are lazy, but because reading starts to feel like a chore instead of something enjoyable. And this is something I see all the time with my English students. But when learners choose a book they can actually finish, reading feels different. It feels possible and it feels manageable. That feeling makes people want to come back and read again. When you finish one book in English, you gain confidence and motivation to continue reading. That's how you can turn it into a habit. Reading as a habit leads to more exposure to English, which means you naturally build a stronger vocabulary and a better understanding of grammar over time. When that happens, English starts to take less effort, which is when real long-term improvement occurs. This is how reading stops being something you try to do and becomes something you actually do. That's the kind of progress we're aiming for in this episode. And that's why short books matter so much. They can really help you gain that confidence while also increasing your English input. For each of the books I'm going to recommend, I'm going to tell you the English level, the approximate length, give you a short introduction to the story, and explain how it can help you improve your English. This way you can decide which book feels right for you and not just which book sounds famous. Now let's look at these books. Our first book is Of Mice and Men. This book was written by John Steinbeck, an author from California, who was known for writing about working people and everyday life in the United States. This is the shortest book on the list at around 107 pages, and it uses B2 English. The story follows 2 men named George and Lenny while they work on farms in California during the Great Depression in the 1920s. This was a time when many people struggled to survive and find work. George is small and practical, while Lenny is physically strong but has a learning disability and depends on George for guidance. This means that George helps him make decisions. Together, they share a dream of having their own farm someday so they don't have to continue working for other people. This book explores themes like friendship, loneliness, and the idea of the American dream, especially how difficult it can be for working people to achieve that dream. If you haven't heard of this concept of the American dream, what it is the idea that anyone, no matter where they come from, can build a better life in the United States through hard work. This book works well for English learners because it uses a lot of dialogue, which means there are a lot of conversations between the characters. This allows you to see how people actually speak in real life, not how English is written in textbooks. The sentences are often short and the conversations move quickly, which helps the story to feel easier to follow. You may also notice informal grammar. Informal grammar means that the language is not considered grammatically correct. It would not be the grammar that you are taught in English school, but it is very common and used a lot by people when they speak in English, especially in casual conversations. For example, characters may drop words, use slang, or speak in a relaxed way. This can feel surprising at first, but it's very useful if your goal is to understand real American English in movies, TV shows, and everyday conversations. Another reason this book is so helpful is that it trains you to follow conversations over time. You start to recognize how characters repeat ideas, refer back to earlier conversations, and react emotionally to what other people say. This is a very real skill for listening in English because conversations are not perfect or planned. They jump, they repeat, they change direction, just like in this book. If you enjoy stories with a lot of conversation and you want to feel comfortable with how Americans actually speak, this is a very good book to start with. Because of this informal language, the book works best for B2 learners. And if you want to practice your listening comprehension after reading it, there's also a movie adaptation from 1992 starring Gary Sinise and John Malkovich, which you can watch. Our second book is The Old Man and the Sea. This book was written by Ernest Hemingway, an American author who was known for his simple, direct writing style. This book is about 127 pages long, and it uses B1 to B2 English. The story follows an old Cuban fisherman named Santiago. After not catching anything for many days, he decides to sail alone into the ocean to try and find fish. There he begins a long struggle with a giant marlin, which is a large ocean fish. The story explores themes of perseverance, which means the drive to keep going when things feel impossible, as well as pride. This book works well for English learners because these sentences are short and the grammar is very clear. Hemingway often repeats the same sentence patterns, which helps your brain recognize English naturally. The vocabulary is limited and many important words appear again and again. This repetition makes the book feel easier to read, even if you are still building confidence in English. Another thing this book is great for is building reading stamina. Stamina means your ability to stay focused while reading for longer periods of time. Because the language is simple and the story is calm and slow, you can read many pages without feeling tired or overwhelmed. This helps your brain get used to reading in English without stress, which is very important if you want to make reading a regular habit. If you prefer clear grammar and simple sentences, and you want a calm reading experience, this book is a great choice. Because of its clear grammar and repetition, this book works well for high B1 and B2 learners. Our third book is The Call of the Wild. This book was written by Jack London, an American author from California, who often wrote about nature, survival, and extreme environments. Yes, I know, I have a bias towards California authors since he is the second one on this list. This book is about 172 pages long and uses strong B2 English. The story follows a dog named Buck, who is taken from his comfortable life in California and forced to survive in the wild during the Klondike Gold Rush. The Klondike is a remote region in Canada where thousands of people went in the late 1800s to search for gold. People rushed into the area hoping to get rich, and that's why it's called a gold rush. I mentioned this term before in my episode I did on California because we also had a gold rush here. You can watch that episode if you are interested in it. This book explores themes of survival, instinct, and how someone changes when they are forced to adapt to a harsher and unfamiliar world. Harsh means difficult to survive, something that's very challenging. And the Klondike in remote Canada is definitely a harsh environment. This book is very action driven, which helps many learners stay engaged and keep reading. I had to read this book for my high school English class when I was about 15 years old. Even the students who normally didn't like to read books liked this one because of the fast pace and action in it. The grammar is clear, but there are more descriptive vocabulary terms, especially related to nature and animals. For that reason, the book works best for strong B2 readers who want a small challenge without reading a very long book. If you like action, fast moving stories, and don't mind learning new vocabulary from context, this book is a strong option for you. And if you are interested in watching this story, there are several movie adaptations, including a modern version from 2020 that stars Harrison Ford and a very creepy CGI dog. Our next book is The Giver. This book was written by Lois Lowry, an American author who is known for writing clear, thoughtful stories that explore big ideas in simple language. This book is about 208 pages long and uses B1 to B2 English. The story follows a boy named Jonas who lives in a society that seems safe and perfect at first. But as he grows older, he begins to learn the truth about how his society controls emotions and choice. The story explores themes of freedom, control, memory, and the cost of living in a society that tries to remove pain and choice. The book works very well for English learners because the language is controlled. The sentences are short, the vocabulary often repeats, and the chapters are manageable, all of which help build confidence. Even though the ideas are complex, the English used to explain them is not. This makes the book feel manageable for intermediate learners. Another reason that this book is so useful is that it helps you develop abstract thinking in English. Abstract thinking means talking about ideas that are not physical, things like freedom, memory, and control. Many learners can talk about concrete things like food, work, or travel, but they struggle more with the vocabulary to talk about abstract topics. This book gently trains you to understand and think about those kind of ideas in English. If you enjoy thoughtful stories and want a book that feels deep but still easy to read, this one works very well. It makes you think and ask questions about society, but without extremely difficult language. There's also a movie adaptation from 2014, which stars Jeff Bridges and Meryl Streep. The movie follows the book fairly closely, so the story is very similar to the book. And the last book on our list is Convenience Store Woman. This book was written by Sayaka Murata, a Japanese author. The book was originally written in Japanese and was then later translated into English. It's about 176 pages long and uses B2 English. The story follows a woman named Keiko who works in a convenience store and finds comfort in routine, even though society expects her to live a different kind of life. This book explores themes of identity, social pressure, and what it means to live a life that does not match society's expectations. If you enjoy thoughtful stories that make you think about society, but you still want clear and manageable language, this book is a very good choice. It works well for English learners because the language patterns often repeat, which helps with comprehension. The vocabulary also feels modern and practical because there are a lot of words that are related to work and daily life. Another thing that makes this book useful is that it helps you get comfortable with internal narration. Internal narration means hearing a character's thoughts instead of just seeing what they do or say. Many modern books use this style and is common in real writing and in podcasts. Reading internal thoughts helps you understand how people express opinions, emotions, and personal reasoning in English. Some cultural ideas may feel unfamiliar, but the English itself is clear and consistent. Because of this, the book works best for B2 learners who want to read modern, real-world English. Are you going to read one of these 5 books? Or have you already read one of them? Tell me in the comments. And also let me know if you have a recommendation for a short book that you think other English learners should read. I'd love to hear about it. Remember, interest matters more than difficulty. If you're unsure where to start, pick the shortest book that is at your level, finish it, and gradually work your way up to longer and more challenging text. That is the best way to get started on your reading journey. A reminder that in the description of this episode, you will find the vocabulary list of the words and phrases that I used today, along with helpful links. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and leave a review. That helps other English learners find this podcast. You can follow us on social media at Learn English Pod. The website is learnenglishpod.com. And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode when it comes out next week. Until then, keep learning English.